if all right, look, if you're best friends, right?
Yeah.
Grew up together in Philly.
Okay.
You came from the dirt.
Street hardened.
Street hardened. Hey, they're both street hard.
Both from the hood.
All right. And you find out that your friendship is ending.
Yep.
Wouldn't you cry? Look, I mean, this is a legit question. Wouldn't you cry?
Straight.
Because you're being the jerk right now, bringing up some other stuff no one was thinking about.
Look, let me give some context to this. We were just watching episode 5 of The Fresh Prince, and
Bel Air, sorry.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Yes, we were
The
watching episode 5 of Bel Air, the reimagining of The Fresh Prince, and Will has a very heated, very homoerotically charged.
If you want to look at it that way, I have to tell the viewers enough. There are 2 ways to look at it. That's all.
If you ever get a chance, watch episode 5. Let us know what you think, because it plays out as more of a relationship breakup as opposed to a friendship breakup.
Right. So Will flies his friend Trey from Philly out to L.A. to spend time, and they have a kind of fight about how Will has, in Trey's eyes, has changed from the streets of Philly all the way to Bel Air, and how he's kind of sort of just abandoning his roots for a better life,
which is fine. Exactly. Trey is incredibly hurt by this to the point that he has almost an emotional. Well, I'm not gonna say almost, because he tears up as well as Will tears up. They have an emotional breakdown. It also involves them throwing each other on the bed at some point.
Yeah, you missed that part.
There is
throw each other on the bed.
Tear-filled goodbye where he's walking his friend out to the car, saying that and Trey says, "Oh, I want to go back home and be hard." And Will is like, "Well, what are you trying to say? That this has made me soft? That I'm soft? You know I'm not soft." And
look,
man,
you ain't gonna get me canceled today, cousin Chris.
Let's start the show. Go watch episode 5.
Yeah, let's go watch it. Tell us what you think. But
hello, and welcome to the couch.
Welcome to the couch.
Make yourselves at home. There's plenty of room. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kosi, and this is the Real Couch Guys podcast. And this episode is sponsored by
Bel Air, apparently, and questionable friendship dynamics.
Let's hope we never lose that sponsor, all right?
Yeah. If you're new to this, we are your one-stop shop for movie reviews, news, and all things cinema. So this is how the show breaks down. We spend the first half covering the biggest news stories of the week in the world of movies and entertainment.
Then we go into movie reviews for this week's news releases. But first, let's kick things off as we always do with this week's box office roundup.
All right. And this is for the week of February 18th through the 24th.
Let's get to it.
Coming in at number 1 with a total gross of $60 million, we have Uncharted.
Whoa, hold on. So Spider-Man can exist outside of the universe in the Uncharted verse?
No, that's a big story right now.
Tom
Holland is basically carrying the box office with his movies right now. It's actually really cool. So I'm happy for that.
How often does it happen when you have an actor have a number 1 movie and number 2 movie in the same span of the week? Has that ever happened before?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd have to look that up.
That's amazing.
It's been a while because anyway, I'm gonna go off the tangent. Let me just finish up the list real quick.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Number 2, we have Dog with $20 million.
Oh, the Channing Tatum service dog movie.
Oh, is that what that one is?
Yeah. I saw the trailers for that, but
What's
never.
the other movie about a dog or something?
The Power of the Dog. That was the Benedict Cumberbatch movie from last year. Not related.
Was it coming in at number 3? We have Spider-Man: No Way Home with $774 million. That thing is unstoppable.
Chucking along.
Coming in at number 4, Death on the Nile with $28 million.
How was that? I know you have a review for that coming out.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that today. But spoiler alert, I really enjoyed it.
Really, it looked awesome. I liked it.
Yeah. And rounding out your top 5, we have Jackass Forever with $48 million.
Cool. All right, let's get into this movie news. So, Cousin Chris, obviously the biggest, most anticipated movie of the year is Robert Pattinson's Batman, and as we can, I'm hearing now we're getting some early positive reviews come out of the UK premiere, right? Yeah. So, our friends at CBR were able to pull a couple social media reactions, and just hear a few just to hear. So, MTV Movies' Hannah Flint called it a nail-biting, gritty, and fun Batman coming-of-age story. Unilad said that Batman was absolutely euphoric, with Total Film also calling it sensational. Insider Magazine, but then the biggest one I think is Insider Magazine that boldly claims that Robert Pattinson will be your new favorite Batman.
That's a bold claim.
It is. So granted, these are social media reactions, everybody, so which are they're never really as in depth as like, the actual reviews we see, which start to drop on March 1st, actually. That's when the review embargo lifts. But still, it's exciting to hear. So, Cousin Chris, what are your takeaways from this news?
Look, obviously this is the most anticipated film of the year for most people.
Of course.
Everything we've seen come out of this film so far, from the trailers to the posters, the hype has just been building and building. Everything looks fantastic. The characters that they've picked to portray in this film, such as Catwoman, Penguin, Riddler, they all look like really interesting takes on those characters. Robert Pattinson's Batman looks very gritty. He has that noir edge to him. He's going to be the detective, which is something some people have complained about that we haven't seen Batman really embrace in a while.
Right.
So I'm thrilled. I mean, everyone who's seen this is thrilled. I'm so glad we have these positive reviews. It's no surprise to me. Based on everything we've seen, it looks great. So yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'll pair what you're saying. I'm not surprised at all. I think also this is just a testament to Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
If you ask me, Matt Reeves has not made a bad movie from Cloverfield to now this. I've just been a fan of his work. He's able to really go within genre. Like he made a monster film like Cloverfield, then made the remake to Let Me In, which was like a little indie horror film.
I like Let Me In.
Right, and then he went on to make the Planet of the Apes, like the new trilogy of movies. So this guy, like he's had his hand in so many different genres and has really excelled in them. So to see him get this is to date his biggest job ever is such a character like Batman. So to see that that the world is responding well to it. Just really happy with them. The one thing that I think that people are obviously gonna latch on to was that last one saying Robert Pattinson will be our new favorite Batman.
That's a bold.
Especially to say, I think it's bold. Also, I think it's like I don't want to say recency bias, but when you see something like the new thing is always the quote unquote best thing we've seen.
Right. No, that's fair.
Yeah, like you remember 6 years ago, everybody hated the fact that Ben Affleck was going to be Batman. Now you see articles now saying, was he? It was like, I don't know if was he the greatest ever? It's like the way like time works, people tend to forgive and forget. And personally, I'm ready for that. I'm ready for new interpretation. I'll see for myself whether or not he's our new favorite. I don't think I have a favorite. Do you have a favorite?
Oh gosh, favorite Batman. I feel like it's kind of cheap to say Ben Affleck right now, just because everyone always goes back to that warehouse scene and says like, "Oh, it's amazing. This guy is that gritty Batman that we needed."
It's the best fight we've seen.
Yeah, it's the best fight we've seen. So that almost feels like a cop out. I don't know, but I'm willing to see if Rob Pattinson's going to be the new best.
Of course,
Batman
give him a chance.
Film, But, I mean, of course, you're also going to have those people that are just going to be like, oh, no, I hate Rob Pattinson, therefore his Batman is the worst of the group, right?
Which is ridiculous. It's like, it's as if they haven't seen, like, Good Time or High Life or Lost City Z. Like, you need to...
think of his Twilight.
And people forgot Harry Potter. He's Cedric Diggory. He's the best out of Hufflepuff. But, it's crazy how, us film fans, I think we live in a what have you done for me lately type fandom. And sometimes, what's lately is, unfortunately for Robert Pattinson, he hasn't really been in a lot of mainstream film. So if you're a person that doesn't really watch indie films or stuff that he's really into, like Lighthouse, you're not really gonna. All you've seen is Twilight. All you've seen is Harry Potter. So that's all you attributed him to. Mm-hmm. So, but I really do think starting this week, all that talk about he's Twilight boy and all this, it's gonna end. It's really gonna. I think it'll end, and I think people will really begin to see that this guy is the real deal.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie, neither is Cousin Chris, but I just like him as an actor. I loved him from the moment they announced it was him. I knew he could do it, so it's good to hear that people think so too.
Yeah. By the end of this week, I think all the haters, all the naysayers, they're not going to have any ground to stand on with their claims that I just hate him for the sake of the fact that I hate him.
True.
It's just going to be ridiculous. So.
And I also think now, once this week comes by, we'll have new talking points. So now the conversation will now switch to a new interpretation, which is always great. It's always great to have these new incarnations, and Pattinson will be the newest one. So I'm excited. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, guys, go out and get your tickets. It comes out in theaters this week, March 4th. And tune in next week. We'll definitely have a review.
Yeah. That's going to be a fun time.
I can't wait to break that movie down. So, yeah. So what we got next, Cousin Chris?
All right. Next up, this is coming to us from Deadline. Aaron Pierre has joined the cast of Blade.
Great casting.
Oh yeah, that's
great casting.
Aaron Pierre, known for his role on the CW show Krypton, is set to co-star opposite Mahershala Ali in Marvel's new Blade movie. It is unknown who Pierre will be playing in the film. Marvel has refused to comment, which is pretty interesting. So, Kosi, do you have any idea maybe who he could be playing?
Man, honestly, my first thought went to Deacon Frost. Like, legit, I thought, okay.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, like, if I don't know if that's, like, against the comic book origin of Deacon Frost, but, you know, I don't know what the backstory is, but just going by how Pierre is, Pierre has both, he's a classically trained actor. He's a stage performer. So he's been in a lot of Broadway shows, and he has such a commanding voice and just a commanding just presence. The first place I saw him ever was in M. Night Shyamalan's movie Old that came out last summer.
That's right, he was in that.
Yeah, Old wasn't very great, but I personally love Pierre in it. He just definitely has a look, definitely has a voice. I can see why he's being tapped for both this Blade movie. Also, he's going to star as the young Mufasa in a Lion King origin story. Once you hear this guy speak, you'll know exactly why they picked him. He has a very distinct voice.
So do you think, based on what you've seen him in so far, would he fit more comfortably into a villain role? Or?
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Oh, really?
I think, the reason why I say this is because I think it'll be a good change of pace for him. He's used to play a lot of good guys. I didn't really see a lot of Kryptons. I don't know what he played in Krypton. Okay, so but I would like to see him just going by just what I've seen from the YouTube clips I've seen of him on Broadway, and then for what I've seen in Old. I think he'd make a good villain just as a change of pace. I'd love to. I think, and also you missed it, that Delroy Lindo is also in Blade as well. Delroy Lindo is an accomplished actor. He's also been casted.
Oh, that's right. That's so true. Yes. And people have been speculating that he's going to be the new Whistler.
Yeah, we assume he's going to be a Whistler to Mahershala Ali's Blade. So I think having
great casting.
Yeah, and it's always great to just bring in talent. So someone like Aaron Pierre. To be honest, I'm not well versed on the Blade lore. I don't know.
Yeah, I just know the first movie, and I know the whole original Blade trilogy, but
I thought maybe Hannibal King. It's another thing. Was another character that was used. So my knowledge of Blade's rogues gallery of characters is limited, but it wouldn't hurt to bring in Pierre just from a talent standpoint. So I'm all for this casting.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen what Pierre's been. I haven't seen a lot of his previous work, so I don't know. But
he's very new.
You're saying that he kind of has more of a villain's presence. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. He could play Deacon Frost. I mean, he could just be another vampire antagonist in general.
I would like if he was just a vampire antagonist that really wasn't from the comic books, but just someone made up to face off against Blade. Or
that could work too. Like, give us something new, right? We don't have to retread ground with Deacon Frost,
right?
So that would be interesting.
But yeah, I'm all for it. I know that Marvel, they're clearly writing and working on this. The writer, she was a woman that worked on Watchmen, which was which nominated for an Emmy and actually won a few Emmys as well. And just the team behind it is just really, really. It's a very different team that we've seen on an MCU film. A lot of first-time people that are on this. A lot of people that are cutting their teeth with this. So having someone like Ali, Pierre, Lindo, lead this, it's going to be a very, very unique project for Marvel. I'm really excited.
Do we know if they're leaning into the horror elements for Blade yet? Have they made a statement about that?
They have made no statements at all. We can only speculate. Just the character is dark.
Because we know that with Multiverse of Madness coming up, people are saying this is Marvel's first foray into more of the horror genre. But I feel like with Blade, that kind of lends itself to that genre even more than a Multiverse of Madness would. So I kind of hope they double down on it and give us that.
Yeah, and like Blade, from all accounts, it's not the fantastical horror that I think we're gonna get in Multiverse of Madness. This will be like street level horror, which I think is a lot more grittier, dirtier, and even scary if you ask me, because that's something that's happening right down your alleyway. That kind of horror. So like, and having someone like Blade go around protecting the streets in the MCU is really cool. Have that also tie in with Moon Knight, who's also doing something similar to that on like a street level horror base. So they're really building out a real cool horror corner. also bring in Black Knight from the Eternals. He has that ebony blade, and we got the little cameo from Mahershala there. So I think it's gonna really play. I think you're right. It's gonna play into horror, but it won't be like the fantastical horror that we're gonna see in Multiverse of Madness.
I mean, look, we've seen the trailers for Morbius. That movie hasn't come out yet, but obviously they're leaning more into traditional superhero action with that film. It's not so much vampire horror, since I guess, which makes sense. I mean, he's the only vampire in this movie that we know of so far. It's not like a vampire army is hanging out in the darkness. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if Marvel's kind of looking at that, seeing the response to Morbius and being like, maybe we need to switch things up with the way with the energy we're gonna go for with this film. Or do you think they already have everything planned out and they just...
I think they have everything planned out, and they've already seen Morbius, right? I think they like what they've seen. I think they're going to actually maybe take, not a lot, but take some inspiration and some cues from Morbius. Honestly, I would not be surprised if we get a Blade cameo in Morbius.
You're going even further with this.
The reason being, in the first Blade that Snipes made, there was a deleted scene that had Morbius in there.
No, there's not.
There's a deleted scene from.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, so Steve Norrington, he's the director of the first Blade. He talked about it on he talked about it on the DVD like special features like.
This is wild.
Yeah, so they released a. It's not. I don't think it's released, but it's on YouTube. There's a release of at the end of the movie where he takes the bush right out to the top of the building so she can burn. So it's supposed to end. In the theatrical version, he takes her out there and it ends. The other ending was he takes her out there, she burns up, and then he's having a moment, and then in the back, someone's up there with him, talking to him. Actually, no. The bush right does not burn up in any version. She's still there. They're just up there on top of the building because the movie's been resolved, and she says, "Hey, look over there. Who's that on the building, on the top of the building over there?" They look over, and it's this mask. He has like a almost like a sheriff's midriff cut mask thing with his eyes, and
now I have to look this up.
Yeah, it's really just look it up in your free time. Look up Blade 1988 Morbius deleted scene. So I think there's some itty bitty precedent for them, but in the comics they're tied together. Morbius is the vampire that actually bites Blade and gives him his powers. When Blade began, he was not a daywalker. He was just some dude who killed vampires. It wasn't until he met Michael Morbius that he got bitten is when he got the Daywalker powers. Gotcha. So I think, not to say we're going to see a pre-Daywalker Blade and Morbius, but I wouldn't be surprised we got some kind of Easter egg or even cameo from Mahershala.
Well, that raises even more questions. Do you think maybe Marvel and Sony, could they tie that in together? Because we've already seen some things from the Sonyverse cross over into the MCU, right?
Yeah, No Way Home. And No Way Home, even.
Yeah, and No Way Home. So, is there a chance maybe Morbius could bite someone that happens to be crossing through dimensions and they spread the vampire virus through the MCU?
That would be cool.
I don't know.
That would be actually cool.
Or are they going to play it like the vampires have been here this whole time? We just didn't know about it.
Look, again, going off of the first Blade and the second Blade, the vampire world actually exists in the shadows. It's meant to not be seen. So it wouldn't be too far-fetched to think in this Marvel MCU, people just don't really notice them because so much fantastical stuff is already out there.
That's true.
That at night, vampires, it's cool. It's okay. What else is new?
Yeah, but I mean, we also got Multiverse of Madness coming up, right?
Yes.
We're going to be traveling to a bunch of different worlds.
Cannot forget that.
Why not have Morbius pop in and be like, I'm going to feed on this person. They end up right in the MCU. Or maybe Wanda does something and now the vampires all exist throughout the world. We just don't know about it. Anything is possible there. I don't know.
I like that. I like speculation, but we're kind of at this point still speculating because Marvel's still writing and producing this movie. But I don't think we even have a release date yet. I'd say possibly next year you might get this movie, but who knows? But we're still excited for it.
Right.
Yeah. So what's up next, Chris?
Yeah. So this next story is coming to us from Deadline. So, Fred Hechinger, am I saying that right?
It's Hechinger.
Hechinger, thank you. Known for his roles on Netflix's Fear Street and White Lotus, has joined Sony Pictures' Kraven the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor-Johnson in the titular role.
All right.
Although it's unconfirmed, sources say Hechinger will play Chameleon, the half-brother of Kraven.
Great casting as well.
A villain usually depicted as a master of disguise, known for his ability to impersonate virtually anybody.
All right, this is exciting. I'm so happy that Sony is dipping into just just Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. Chameleon is someone I don't think we've ever seen him live action or even cartoon version.
I mean, I remember in the cartoon version. I remember him. He was in the cartoon from the 90s.
90s?
That
Okay.
was really cool and popular, but. We've never seen him in a movie. I don't think we've ever seen him live action.
Ever.
So this is really interesting. And, I mean, we were just talking about Morbius. I love the way Sony is going ahead and giving these villains their own movies. It's a really bold move on their part, I think. And I think it's fantastic. I love they're doing this. As for the casting so far, I mean, we have Fred joining this role now. Of course, we haven't talked about it, but Russell Crowe joined this movie a few weeks back. They haven't announced his role yet. Some people are saying he's going to be part of Kraven's family. We don't know. Maybe his father. Who knows?
Probably father.
Yeah, but no. I mean, the casting so far is fantastic. I'm excited that Sony is doing this. I don't know, Cuz. What do you think about this casting?
I think it's great. Again, as I said before, with the Aaron Pierre story, it's never a bad idea to just bring on talent.
Exactly.
And Hechinger, he's been killing on White Lotus. I haven't seen White Lotus. I know him from the Fear Street series on Netflix, and he was an amazing character in Fear Street. He played 3 different guys in all 3 iterations, and just showing his range and just his natural ability to just be both terrified in one aspect, be horror, just be real scary in another one, but also just be real vulnerable in another instance. He has just a really great range, and to see him being brought along to play a character who is known for impersonating people, to have an actor like this, it's actually very perfect. I'm just really curious to see how they're going to do this, because we already have in the MCU the idea of Skrulls, people that can shapeshift.
Oh, that's true.
And this will be, but the way Chameleon shapeshifts in the comics, he does it via a series of masks that he puts on, kind of like the Mission Impossible-esque mask.
Yeah.
Which from a technical standpoint is a lot different than how the Skrulls are. So I think in that way, I guess Sony will be able to differentiate. But I just saw really cool parallels to that, because he can impersonate anybody. So that's, the possibilities are endless there.
Yeah, this Kraven movie, we don't know what he's going to be hunting yet, right? I mean,
we hope it's Spider-Man, but
we hope it's Spider-Man. But I feel like that would be such a big target that's like the plot of a Spider-Man movie in of itself. So I don't know if you give Kraven the leading role in that.
You know what I think they might be doing? I think this is more so, because again, this is all speculation. If Russell Crowe is playing his father, I think this will be a story about how Kraven is having to break away from his family and just do his own thing. And maybe he has a father and brother who maybe aren't on that same page, and that's where the conflict comes from. I think in this movie, he's going to be fighting his father.
Oh, you think they're just going to go full on, make him a hero and make his family kind of the villains?
Right, in order to get us to really get on Kraven's side, because, in order to build up to when he has to go and get Spider-Man.
They kind of play that up with Morbius, too. Like, even in the trailers, it's like, hey, are you a villain or are you a hero? And so I wouldn't be surprised if they did that same thing with Kraven. I don't know. I don't want to see, because we already had that with Venom, too. I don't want to see every Spider-Man villain get, redeemed into a hero. I feel like that's kind of retreading old ground there. But if they could actually keep him at least as an anti-hero, I think I'd be happier with that. I don't know what you think about that, because we're seeing a lot of villains get redeemed lately in Sony's pictures.
I think it's all about how you do it. Execution is always just the key to this. And it could become tired as the whole trope of okay, we can't make this guy too bad because audience has to like him.
He's our main character.
Yeah, I think what we'll see starting with Morbius is they're going to go into that whole. They're going to explore okay, but what if this guy wasn't perfect? And I think Deadpool kind of sort of hinted at it a little bit, but it kind of went more fun. I think a movie like Morbius, a movie like Kraven, they're going to really dive into, okay, we're not supposed to like them, but they're going to be charismatic, they're going to be charming, but they're going to have that duality to them where they're not always perfect.
That's what I'd rather have. Present to me a character where I like their personality, even though I don't like what they're doing.
That's so hard. That's so hard to do.
And it's not easy to do, but I think it's better than just, hey, here's a new villain. He's going to be redeemed by the end of the movie. He'll be a hero.
Exactly. Give us more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm really hoping they give us something new to talk about with this one, but only time will tell with Kraven.
Only. All right, now going on to our next segment. This is called Speculation Nation, as we like to always call it. So in this one, we're just gonna—it's not really a big one, but it's big in terms of just what it could mean for the MCU. It's the Multiverse of Madness and all the possible cameos that may or may not be in this.
Oh yeah, because if you spent any time on the internet lately in the past few weeks, you're seeing all kinds of fan theories about Multiverse of Madness. Everything from the plot lines to what characters are going to appear. So, I mean, just from this list we have here, the characters that are making headlines this week were potential cameos from Magneto, Wolverine, Captain Carter, and Deadpool. So Post, let me start you off. Do you buy into any of these characters appearing? Do you think it's all just nonsense? What's the likelihood of us seeing these characters in this movie?
First and foremost, I'd love it if all of them were in it, but I just hope it's done well. That's all I care about. Right. I understand the Multiverse of Madness is it could be taken as a all bets are off type event.
Right. That's what I've been championing. Like on my end, I want to see that, but at the same time, we have so many characters that people are talking about at this point. How is this even going to work?
Yeah, and how they're all going to get their shine. So it's like, I know for one, the Captain Carter one, I think it's going to be. It's all but confirmed. I think she's in it. I think played by Haley Atwell.
Her shield.
Yeah, her shield is in the poster. I think there've just been multiple sites that have damn near confirmed that she's in it. So that one I'm sure about. Magneto's another one because obviously if we're getting Professor X, why not Magneto? Why not Ian McKellen? That'll be really cool. The ones that are kind of out there are both Wolverine and Deadpool. I don't want this movie to just get so crazy full of just looky here cameos that it kind of gets ridiculous, especially in movie. For end credit scene, I think that you can go as wacky as you want, but like for the movie, a character like Deadpool, I'm not of the mindset that like having Deadpool and Doctor Strange in any capacity would like ruin its tone. I just wouldn't want him in there just because it's Doctor Strange's story. And I think if Deadpool is anywhere in the movie and not like a credit scene, if he's like in the movie, I think it'll just be, oh, do you see Deadpool? Do you see that? I'm afraid that's gonna be like the talk of what happened. Yeah. I could be wrong, but obviously Deadpool is a lot more popular than Doctor Strange is, so him showing up could potentially like, it could just overshine Doctor Strange. So that's the one I'm kind of sort of hoping that maybe not in that movie, but in a end credit scene.
I mean, this is all just a question of fan service. How much are they going to give us? How do you do it well to where it works on the screen, but it doesn't overwhelm the actual plot of the film? And we've seen like mixed results with this. Obviously, in No Way Home, we saw this work out perfectly. They gave us just the perfect amount of fan service. They brought back old characters. It worked really well in the context of the story. And we've seen something like this fall apart, where you had like the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they're trying to bring back all these characters from DC's old shows, and there was just like 2-3 minute cameos from them, like just maybe say, "Hey, I'm here," and then disappear again, and people are like, "Yeah, it didn't work," right? So with Multiverse of Madness, I mean, obviously we trust Marvel; they know what they're doing. If they give us all these characters in a way that actually works and makes sense on screen, then hey, go for it. I mean, even if it doesn't work so much, I'm one of those people who's just like, I would just want to see Wolverine in the MCU. I want to see Magneto and Deadpool. So if they're just going to pop up and wave, to me personally, that's fine. To most people, I don't know how they'll react to it.
So who'd you want for Wolverine? I know we had this discussion last year. I personally would like my pick's always Eggsy from Kingsman. I'm Taron Egerton.
Yeah.
That great actor, great physicality to him.
Well, there was that story that came out, I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, that Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself,
another one,
is going to appear as a variant of Wolverine. I think that would be really interesting to see. I'd love to see him if he actually got in shape for the role and stuff like that. That'd be really cool. But as far as just general Wolverine casting in general, who I want to see take over the mantle.
Yeah.
Gosh. We've gone back and forth about this before. I know you'd like a more comic book accurate Wolverine, someone that's a bit shorter in stature.
He doesn't need to be, but just because of what we have with Hugh Jackman, I think it'll be a good change of pace. But I'm not beholden to the comics.
And I know we talked about this before, that I want like just some monstrous dude. I want like an actual like just beast of a guy, like a Jason Momoa.
So Hugh Jackman again, almost.
I love that. Because the character already has this reputation for being this big badass, so I would love to see that keep going. Black character of Wolverine. So, I mean, I like him like as a big muscular dude. I think it's really cool. But I'm open to whoever they cast. I mean,
I would say this: a big part of Wolverine, I've said it before, is the fact that he's the little guy. He's always kind of being underestimated, and he turned out to be like one of the strongest, most powerful in the group. So I think his physicality is part of the character. I think that's why a lot of people got mad. This was like we were like kids when Hugh Jackman was cast, but I think that's why folks got mad. It's because the thing about Wolverine is that he's not this big handsome guy. He's kind of like a little runt, but don't mess with this runt. This runt can totally take you out. Right. So I think that's why I think if Marvel were to do this, it'll be a great way to differentiate, but also really tell this side of Wolverine on screen we haven't really seen before, like that aspect.
Let me throw this curveball at you, because
let's get it.
There is a huge star out there in Hollywood that somehow is not in the MCU yet. What if he was cast as the Wolverine? And I am, of course, talking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh,
joining the MCU for the first time as Wolverine.
But he's Black Adam. Like, we just got him as Black Adam.
That's fine. We have plenty of actors crossover between MCU and DC.
Would he be the MCU Wolverine moving forward?
I mean, the official MCU Wolverine moving forward.
Man, that's rich.
How would you feel about that?
Man, I gotta preface this. I'm a huge fan of The Rock. I've been a fan of The Rock since I was 8 years old. I think that's not for him. I think some roles are for you as an actor, are meant for you. I don't think the Wolverine role is is a great fit for him, for his skills and what he can bring to the role. I think it'll better suit another character like a Black Adam, to be honest. But to bring him into the MCU, I don't know. I'd bring him in as. Could be Colossus. I don't know. Some people fan casted him as a Thing. Just keep him just.
That would be interesting too.
But Wolverine, I never thought of that. I never thought of it, to be honest.
Because I mean, it's getting to the point where there are so many big name actors that are joining the MCU. It seems almost bizarre when you're left out of it.
It's almost who isn't in the MCU at this point.
Right. So for the fact that The Rock somehow isn't here yet. I can't wait to see what he ends up joining the MCU as, if he does join. I mean, we'll see.
Me too. I think also we definitely could be getting either a variant of Black Panther and also a variant of Mr. Fantastic in this movie as well.
Dude, I know we talked about this last time, but if that Illuminati scene comes out and the person playing Black Panther is Michael B. Jordan, can you imagine that fan reaction?
Yeah, it'll be like, thunderous applause because
it's perfect.
And here's what'll happen. I think I think they'll be doing that as a way to gauge the world's temperature on if we did go about recasting, how would you feel? What better person to come in and do that than maybe not because Killmonger can't do it, but a multiversal Killmonger who. Different from What If's Killmonger, but a Killmonger who actually saw to it that Wakanda flourished. I would love that. And if we can get Michael B. Jordan back in the MCU some way, I'd be all for it. Obviously, I'd be cool with getting either John Krasinski or Ian Greifeld as the original Mr. Fantastic. I'd be cool with either one of them, but Michael B. Jordan would be incredible to have as Black Panther again.
Okay. I mean, hey, time will tell. Multiverse of Madness is coming out May 6th, I believe.
It's coming out. It's like 2 months away, man.
Yeah, we're getting there. And I can't wait to see how many of these cameos are confirmed or found out to be false. We'll find out soon.
Dude, just looking at this month, we got Batman, then a couple, and then the following week we have Moon Knight, and then some weeks later, then we have Morbius. And then we have Multiverse. So, these next 2 months are super jam-packed if you're just a fan.
I'm so excited about it. I love that we have all these great movies.
Me too. Speaking of great movies, you saw one recently this past weekend.
I did. I think it's about time we talked about it.
So, Agatha Christie Mysteries, right? They're back on the screen. Tell me about this one.
They are. Ladies and gentlemen, Death on the Nile. The new, what is it?
Kenneth Branagh
film starring Gal Gadot, the infamous Armie Hammer. Letitia Wright is in there. Russell Brand is in there.
Russell Brand, cool.
He was great, actually,
cool.
in the film too.
Cool.
So, look, Death on the Nile. If you love mysteries, I mean, you're gonna love this one. It's just a really well shot, well produced film. I will say that minor issues came up with the green screen. It was very clear that these people were not, in fact, in Egypt and on the Nile. But besides that, I mean, the cast, they all gave like really powerhouse performances. I mean, the actual plot itself, really well executed. Even if you can figure out who the killer is, it's still a fun ride, and the reveal at the end is so worth it.
Could you just give me a quick little synopsis? You don't have to tell me that spoil, but like, what's the synopsis of the movie?
Sure. So our lead detective Hercule, he is brought onto a wedding party essentially by his friend from the previous film. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's the young man that is friends with him. The same person that got him onto the train into a murder mystery is the same person that gets him onto this boat into another murder mystery.
Josh Gad's character, right? No?
Yeah. No, not Josh Gad's character. We have to look it up. But, I mean, yeah, no, he gets invited to this wedding party. Gal Gadot and her husband, Army, they feel uncomfortable because Army's spurned lover has been following them around as they get ready, as they got married and are trying to enjoy their honeymoon. And so they're all on this boat together, and the spurned lover follows them. And then a murder occurs. And it's up to our hero, Hercule, to figure out who that murderer is. So, overall, really fun mystery. I will say that there were some pacing issues early on, because you're basically kind of waiting for what needs to happen, and you're sitting there like, okay, when are we going to get started? When are things going to actually kick off?
Okay.
But at the same time, you just enjoy these characters so much, you're just kind of on the ride with them, that you don't mind it so much. You'll notice it, but you won't mind, because the characters are actually really fun and interesting just to watch interact.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, overall great time. I would highly recommend checking it out if you haven't already. Death on the Nile, man. It's a good time.
So, like, I remember I saw the first one, Murder on the Orient Express, which I thought was really, really well done movie.
Yeah.
So, have you seen Murder on the Orient Express?
I have, yes.
Okay. So, as opposed to this one, the whole like mystery aspect of it, have they upped the ante this time, or is it kind of comparable to the first one?
I mean, you know what? It's very similar to the first one, but they're thoughtful in that they give explanations as to why. Oh, this person so happens to be on a boat with several people that don't like them. How convenient. Okay. But there's an in-world explanation for it. There's even an in-world explanation as to why his friend that recruited him onto the train in the first one is recruiting him onto the boat in this one. So there's a lot of attention to detail there. They're like, no, like, hey, these are strange coincidences. How do you explain that? It's like, well, we have an explanation for you. So it's really well done. It's really well done.
Do you have to be a reader of the Agatha Christie novels to enjoy this one?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I haven't ever read the novels, and I just went in with a clean slate, and I was like, wow, I love these characters. I love seeing them interact. I love this murder mystery as it unfolds.
Cool. Sounds like a real crowd pleaser, you'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Oh, man, so I guess last question then. How's Kenneth Branagh? Because he just is awesome. I love him. I love Kenneth Branagh.
I told you that the origin story of this character's mustache is one of the best parts of this film.
All right, I gotta see this movie.
I gotta see it. Okay. If you're listening to this and you've watched the movie, you know what I mean. The opening scenes are... It's actually one of the best parts of the movie, and we get that origin story to the mustache. It's very cool.
You heard it here first, Couch Potatoes. There is an origin story for the mustache.
And it is a gripping one. And you know what? And that's actually... I'm glad you brought that up, because... One of the major parts of this film is kind of delving into him as a character and where he's at in his life right now. And it's actually really interesting that we get some background to him and some context to the way he's living his life and the things he kind of wish he could change. So
he's more than just this eccentric character that solves mysteries. There's like other stuff going on internally with this guy that we're able to see.
We get to see some depth to him, which is fantastic.
I like that. Okay. Well, cool. Not Murder Orient Express. I'm sorry. Death on the Nile is still in theaters right now in all major markets, so please go check it out when you get the chance. It's coming up next. I just wanted to give a little bit of a highlight and shout out to The Godfather.
Right. Godfather is coming up on its 50th anniversary this year. Very exciting. And I had the pleasure of watching it with you. This was my first time. I had never seen The Godfather before.
Wow. Okay. This is my first time in theaters, but not first time watching it. What'd you think?
I loved it. I actually really loved the character arc of Michael.
Yeah.
Like just following him as he went about kind of taking over the family business from his dad. I actually loved his brother Sonny as well. I guess... To the listener, this is old news, but when Sonny...
Spoiler alert for a 50-year-old movie, guys.
Right. Right, when Sonny gets killed, I was shocked. I was like,
I saw your reaction. I was like, man,
and then like right back to back, Michael's first wife gets killed, and she was just like the sweetest girl, and it's innocent, just devastating.
Yeah.
You know, but no, I love the dynamics. I love the Don and the way he was trying to hold on to the old ways and try to be a bit more respectable and honorable, even though they're involved in crime essentially. So. That was great, and them seeing him trying to fight the times, but like, you know, the times are fighting back. Like, you need to evolve with the other families.
Yeah.
You know, and then we have Michael, who, when I came into this, I thought Michael was going to be like, oh, I'm straight laced. I don't want to get involved in any crime or anything. But when the time comes, he didn't even hesitate. It was just like the switch turned on. He was like, I'm ready to kill people. I'm ready to take over the family. Mm-hmm. So that caught me off guard. I was not expecting that.
I loved how you talked about Michael's whole arc, because that Michael's arc and descent into madness is really the heart and soul of this entire trilogy of movies. And you see it, and you see its genesis in the first Godfather, because, you know, Michael is coming back from war. He's always been the golden child in that family, and they protected him from that part of the family. They did a good job of making sure that Michael never got into that. But, you know, the way family is, you get back with your family, you want, and Michael's selfless. He lives for his family. That's all he lives for. And so when he's called to do, you know, horrendous things, you know, he does it begrudgingly, but he does it, you know, at the behest of, you know, and because of the love he has for his brothers and his father. So to see him just descend like that, and just, you know, and I've watched it so many times now, just to see just, you know, different stuff. You're going to see different things now when you like come back to revisit this movie. I think for me the biggest a big highlight was Michael's at the end, when Michael is, you know, baptized now as the quote unquote godfather of his sister's baby, but also now he's being baptized now as the godfather of this crime family, and it's a 10-minute long sequence of it's interspersed with Michael and with Michael at the church taking his vows, but also Michael's associates being just taken out by his men. It's
systematically murdering people.
Brilliant scene. I've told you this before. It's an iconic scene in the movie. It's one of those scenes that's really broken down. And Godfather is one of those movies where you can see where a lot of other films took inspiration from. Every gangster movie you've seen past 1972 has taken a little bit and taken either lines or just aesthetics and just feels from Godfather. I'm so glad that you were able to see where it all came from. This is where it all began. So
and you know what? I think one thing I noticed as we were going through that movie, the emphasis, because in a lot of gangster movies, there's a lot of time spent on like the actual drug running or the money and things like that, but there was so much focus on the family,
the people.
The people in these films. Like, they talk about how their money's coming from gambling casinos. Are we ever even on a casino floor? I know we end up in a casino hotel.
We're never on the floor.
We're never on the floor. We never actually see them with their money in hand, do we? No, because it's not about the actual... I mean, it's about the business, but it's about the business of family. It's about how the family is running the business. Yeah. And I thought that's what gave it a lot of heart and a lot of touch. So when these characters die, you actually do feel it. Yeah, and when you see them trying to take care of each other, like, oh, you're my brother, I'm going to look out for you, I'm going to send these men to follow you around to protect you, you feel that, and you connect with them, even though they're gangsters. So.
And extra shouts out to Marlon Brando. Obviously, you know, he's regarded as one of the greatest actors ever, but this movie was really a showcase to just his acting prowess. I bet you've seen that character been, you know, parodied to death, but this is the original. And it's so subtle. It's more than just putting cotton balls in your mouth and talking funny. No, there's a lot of, you can see just how he interacts with his sons and everybody else. He's a man that's, you can tell, has done horrible things, but is also trying to atone for the horrible things he's done, and doesn't want his sons or his family to be caught back in that vicious cycle.
Right.
But at the end of the day, business is business, and stuff needs to be handled. And just seeing that duality, seeing that just tear at him throughout the movie, even till the... I think one of the better scenes was actually the scene before Marlon Brando's character passes away, was that last conversation he had with Michael, giving him some of the, I guess, the last advice he ever gave him, which ended up, you know, saving his life, was not to trust people. But it wasn't coming from a guy that was bitter and angry at the world. It came from a guy that just loved his kids. This is after his firstborn was dead. Just wants to make sure his kids are good and they were settled before he leaves this earth. And so it was just really, and it's all subtle. It wasn't done through monologues. It was just done with just through looks and just gestures.
Feel it.
It's so great.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because one of the highlights of the film for me is when they're in that they're in the office together, and he's telling his men, listen to what Michael says. Michael's going to lead you now. Just do what he says. That's what an awesome passing of the torch. That's so meaningful.
I can't wait if you just watch the second one, because watch the second one and then go back and watch the first, because you see in the second one you really see how Marlon Brando became Vito. So I'm so curious to see how you think about that, or revisiting that scene now after watching the second one. But yeah, it's a classic for a reason. Viewers, if you haven't seen it, you've probably seen it being parodied, seen it being quoted. But please go out and watch it. And it's in theaters currently, so if you haven't seen it yet in theaters, I say go check it out.
Yeah, go take advantage of that 15th anniversary viewing. It's really great. So
yeah. And with that, guys, that is the end of our episode. Wow. So I want to just say thank you so much for joining us. I just want to just thank Chris for just being here with me and just being a great co-host.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
Of course, anytime. So we will see you guys next week. If we will have a review for the Batman. I'm actually seeing it early on Tuesday, so I'm going to have a voice review up soon. And, of course, we're going to have our next week's episode up. So no matter what your opinions are on movies, love them or hate them, just know there's always room on this couch. Thanks, guys, and bye-bye.
Y'all have a great week.